Hello everyone, I'm making this video to give you my opinion about Anthem. Of course, it will be based entirely on the VIP demo that was released yesterday. For those of you who wonder what the difference is between the VIP and the normal demo, I don't think there's any. The normal demo comes out next week and the VIP one is basically an early access demo, if that makes any sense, for those who pre-ordered the game. Oh, and for those who are members of the EA Access thing. Alright, first off, I'm going to make the assumption that the demo is a relatively accurate representation of the experience we're about to have while playing the full game. And if for some reason the full game turns out to be completely different, I am willing to take back everything I have to say in this video. With that out of the way, let's get to the meat of things. So, fairly early through the demo, I realized that Anthem is not a, quote, Bioware game. Not one of the sort we've played and loved through the years, you know, like KOTOR, the Mass Effect series, the Dragon Age series, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and so on. It's a little ironic because every time you launch the demo, you get an unskippable animation of BioWare's logo. I say this because the demo definitely gives the impression that the story and the making of impactful choices, well, in this case pretty much any choices, is not at all the focus of this game. And I can't help but feel a little disappointed here, because Anthem, as far as I can tell, is the love child of BioWare. Games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Star Wars: The Old Republic have suffered so that Anthem can succeed. By that I mean they have pulled developers from those teams to finish this game faster and to polish it further. I'm not a big fan of Mass Effect Andromeda, but I do play Star Wars: The Old Republic and I enjoy it, and for such a long time that game had no story-related updates at all. So I expected a lot from Anthem, and I'm not too thrilled with the result so far. What should I talk about first? Let's start with the facial animations, a definite hot topic ever since Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, I'm happy to report that those are not as terrible. Unfortunately though, they're not that great either. If you compare the cutscenes in the demo to those in, say, Dragon Age Inquisition, they are by no means an improvement. Not just in terms of facial animating, but overall composition as well. And by composition I mean basically how complex the cutscenes are. Even though we have the same developer using the same engine, possibly even a better version of the engine, and what, 4 or so years later? And so it's really sad not to see any improvement. Also, I'm not sure how it's going to be in the full game, or whether I missed something or not, but you don't actually get to see your own character in any of the scenes that I found in the demo. You only hear the voice, and you see the character briefly while you're mounting the suit. Is mounting the right term? Maybe just entering the suit? Anyway, what about the conversations out of cutscenes? Those aren't much better. Characters are extremely static, they barely move at all while talking to you, which is also not too different from the out of cutscene dialogue in Inquisition. The voice acting is, I mean, it's not terrible. Actually, the guy who gets split in 3 does some good work in that scene, but the others were totally forgettable. In fact, this guy and that scene is probably the only thing I remember when I look back at what I just played story-wise. And I don't even want to compare it to something like The Witcher 3 cause I won't have the strength to continue this video. But honestly, you don't even have to do that. If you just compare it to Inquisition, it's still worse pretty much in any story-related department, judging from the demo. What else? I suppose to continue my point about staticness, if that's a word, the whole base, Fort Tarsis? What was it called? Anyway, it's so damn stale. Nobody seems to be in a hurry around here. From all the marketing of the game, I was under the impression that we're in a dire situation, and I was expecting people running around, doing things, but no, nothing seems to indicate that we're in any danger or trouble. There's also such a stark contrast between the over-the-top action when you're outside and what actually happens inside. Some may enjoy that, I however didn't. And speaking of the outside, let's talk about how the story is handled over there. First, there are absolutely no cutscenes or choices to be made while you're out on a mission, in the demo of course. Pretty much all the story is delivered via radio chat with characters in the base, and it feels like it's basically there to just get you to the next place where you shoot more things, or to the next object that needs deciphering while you're shooting waves of things. And overall, there's this strong feeling of segregation. Segregation between the gameplay sections while you're out there in the suit flying and shooting, and the story sections while you're back home. And I personally prefer the opposite. Now, to give you an example of what I mean by the opposite, I suppose we can look at the Cyberpunk 2077 48 minutes of gameplay video. That I think is a good example of what I'm trying to illustrate, of integration of gameplay and story rather than segregation. First you're at home and there you get some story and cutscenes and talking and so on, but when you go out you don't just shoot things and talk on the radio, instead the gameplay and the story flow together as one. Okay, I think it's finally time to talk about the gameplay. My most immediate impression was that, well, it's a spectacle. It's flashy, loud, fast-paced, dynamic, flows fairly well, and generally it shows that they put time and effort into it. There were a few minor issues, such as a couple of unusually long loading screens. Those may have been because the servers were unstable, especially during the first hours of the demo. There were also a couple of huge difficulty spikes, but all in all, it played well. I encountered nothing like the meme-generating bugs we had in Mass Effect Andromeda, especially on launch. I can't say how I'm going to feel if I play for another 10, 20 or 50 hours. There are currently 4 javelin, if I'm not mistaken, javelin being the Iron Man suits, and each has 2 abilities and an ultimate, plus your weapons loadout, so there's certainly some variety. Can't quite tell how it compares to Warframe in that department, for example. I've played that for a short while, and on one hand, bear in mind my experience is limited, so I'm probably wrong, but the different Warframes I tried back there did not feel quite as unique as the different Javelin in Anthem. On the other hand, however, they've got a ton of Warframes, while here you only have 4 Javelin, so I don't know, make of that what you will. Also, playing with a different Javelin will only feel reasonably unique if weapons do not begin to get too overpowered, and I can't really speak of that yet. Anyway, I have next to nothing negative to say about the gameplay, quite the opposite in fact, and to people who enjoy those kinds of games, they will probably enjoy playing Anthem as well, and I do recommend you try it. Now the question is, will those people enjoy it that much to pay $60 for it? And that is for them to decide. For me personally, as someone who's looking for a good story, dialogue, characters, meaningful choices, and all that good stuff in the first place, based on what I'm seeing in the Anthem's demo, the VIP demo, I cannot say the game's worth buying. Not for me. And I think so far that was all I had to say about Anthem. Thank you very much for watching, let me know what you thought about the demo down in the comments, and until the next video, stay tuned and be good.
No time to waste. We need to get back to the others.
Why is that so alarming? What's happened? Freelancer,